Welcome to Born to License, the podcast that unlocks the secrets of the $350 billion licensing industry. Whether you're a business owner, a creative professional, or perhaps you're just curious about how characters, brands, and IP find their way into our daily lives, this podcast is for you. I'm David Bourne, CEO of Born Licensing and Born to License, and for nearly 20 years, I've helped companies all over the world navigate the exciting world of licensing. Together, we'll explore real-world insights, fascinating stories, and practical tips to help you unlock the potential of licensing for your business or career. So, let's dive in. Hi, I'm David Bourne and welcome back to Born to License. Throughout this season, we've explored the many ways brands extend their reach through licensing, whether it's consumer products, theme parks, digital experiences, or advertising. But across every deal, every partnership, and every creative execution, one thing always determines whether licensing is a success or failure: authenticity. When I launched Born Licensing, I had the opportunity to work on advertising campaigns featuring the biggest film, TV, and gaming brands in the world. And one thing was always clear: the audience can tell when something feels forced. When a brand partnership feels right, it resonates, it builds a connection, it taps into nostalgia, humor, or emotion in a way that elevates both the campaign and the IP itself. But when it doesn't feel genuine, when a character is placed in an ad just for the sake of recognition, it falls flat, and in some cases, it can backfire completely. In this episode, we're going to New York City, where I'm sitting in a conference room with a leading advertising agency, discussing the power of characters in advertising. They had seen licensing used in consumer products, but they were skeptical about how well it could work in commercials. I walked them through some of my favorite campaigns, examples where authenticity made all the difference, and showed them why the right character used the right way could make an ad unforgettable. It was a conversation that reinforced what I had always believed: the best licensing deals don't just sell products, they sell stories that make sense. Let's step right into that meeting room. I'm in New York City, sitting in a conference room with a leading advertising agency, ready to talk about one of my favorite subjects: the power of characters in advertising. The agency team is gathered around, some leaning forward in their chairs, others scrolling through their notes. They're intrigued by the idea of using famous film and TV characters in commercials, but there's an underlying skepticism. One of the creative directors speaks up. I get licensing when it comes to toys, clothes, that sort of thing, but for ads, I don't know. Wouldn't it just feel like a bit of a gimmick? I nod. That's exactly the challenge. If it feels forced, audiences won't buy into it. But when it's done right, it can be game-changing. I pull up my laptop and cast the first campaign onto the screen. A familiar beat plays as Skeletor and He-Man from Masters of the Universe take center stage. It's "I've had the time of my life" from Dirty Dancing. The agency team chuckles as Skeletor and He-Man, mortal enemies, suddenly become dance partners. The sequence builds to the iconic lift from the film, where one character dramatically hoists the other into the air. I pause the video. Originally, the licensor wasn't sold on this, I explain. They had a major issue with the lift. I pull up an early concept storyboard where Skeletor was originally the one lifting He-Man. The brand team pushed back, saying, would He-Man ever let Skeletor lift him? The room laughs. And they were right, I say. He-Man is the hero. He needed to be the one lifting Skeletor. That tiny shift, letting the hero support the villain instead of the other way around, made all the difference. It made the scene feel authentic to those characters. I hit play, and the final version plays through. The hero lifting the villain, and it just feels right. Next up, I pull up another campaign, Buddy the Elf, in Asda's Christmas ad. A few people in the room instantly recognize it, smiling as Will Ferrell's iconic character from Elf steps into an Asda supermarket. I pause on the scene where Buddy grabs a maple glazed pig in blanket, takes a bite, and his eyes light up with excitement. This scene took more work than you'd think, I say. One of the copywriters frowns. Why's that? Well, I say, because we had to make sure Buddy would actually eat what was in front of him. There are confused looks around the table. I continue. Buddy the elf is known for one thing. He loves sugar. He pours syrup on spaghetti. He eats cotton balls thinking they're candy and survives on a diet of sugar and smiles. So we had to ask, would Buddy actually want to eat what was on the table? If the food didn't fit his character, it wouldn't feel authentic. There's a few nods of realization. And that's why we made sure he was eating maple glazed pigs in blankets. The glaze made them sweet, something Buddy would actually enjoy. That tiny detail is what keeps the character true to himself. The creative director scribbles a note. For the last example, I pull up a campaign for Direct Line Insurance featuring Donatello from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This one wasn't about using existing footage. The agency had created a brand new CGI version of Donatello from scratch. The first version of the CGI Donatello needed quite a few amends, I explain. The colors were slightly off and Donatello's proportions weren't quite right. I pull up a side-by-side comparison, the agency's first version and the final approved version. The licensor was meticulous, I continue. We went through a few rounds of tweaks to get his arms and legs in the right proportion to make sure it was truly what we all know to be Donatello. One of the animators in the room leans forward. Yeah, but animation can be tricky. How perfect does it really need to be? I smile. Well, think about it this way. Imagine if Mickey Mouse's ears were shaped slightly different, or if Bugs Bunny's face was stretched out a little too long. It would look wrong, and audiences would immediately pick up on it. I hit play, showing the final approved version of Donatello, spot on in both design and personality. Then I turned back to the agency team. But visuals weren't the only thing we had to get right. I paused the video again. The voice mattered just as much. One of the strategists frowns. You mean the voice actor? Exactly, I say. If Donatello's voice didn't match what fans expected, the entire ad would feel off. So we had to go through voice tests, making sure the tone, the delivery, even the attitude was just right. I hit play again. The final CGI Donatello speaks. His voice is perfect. I turn back to the agency team. So, do these still feel like gimmicks? The creative director shakes his head. No. They feel like real extensions of the characters. Exactly, I say, because the moment something feels off, the audience knows. And when you get it right, the character becomes part of the story, not just a cameo. The agency team exchanges glances. I can see the wheels turning. They're getting it now. Because at the heart of every great licensing deal, whether it's for consumer products, theme parks, digital games, or advertising, authenticity is what makes it work. So there you go, I have revealed the secret ingredient behind every great licensing deal: authenticity. It doesn't matter if it's a consumer product, a theme park attraction, a digital game, or an advertising campaign. If the execution feels off, the audience will notice. And when it's done right, it can elevate a campaign, strengthen a brand's connection with fans, and create something truly memorable. So here are some key takeaways from this episode. Number 1, authenticity is everything. Audiences know these characters inside and out. Any inconsistencies in design, behavior, or voice can break the illusion. Number 2, it's not just about slapping a character on something. Whether it's Skeletor and He-Man having a dance-off, Buddy the Elf in a supermarket, or Donatello saving the day, every detail needs to feel true to the brand. Number 3, the best licensing campaigns feel like an extension of the character's world. The goal isn't just to feature a recognizable face, it's to bring them into the campaign in a way that makes sense. And number 4, the same rules apply to consumer products. A licensed product shouldn't just feature a brand's logo or character, it should feel like a natural extension of the brand. The most successful consumer products are the ones where the IP and the product itself are truly aligned, where the connection makes sense and enhances the appeal. Whether it's a high-end fashion collaboration, a collectible toy, or a food product, authenticity is what separates the standout successes from the forgettable ones. Now, not every licensing deal is a smooth ride, and that's exactly why I started Born to License. After years of working with major licensors, I saw firsthand the pitfalls that brands and businesses can run into when navigating licensing. Misaligned partnerships, unrealistic deadlines, and deals that seem promising but ultimately fall apart. In the next episode, we'll be taking a look at how and why Born to License started. I started the division because I already knew the challenges, the risks, and the biggest mistakes people make in licensing. My goal was simple: to help brands avoid those pitfalls and make licensing a strategic, successful growth opportunity instead of a costly misstep. So what are the most common pitfalls when it comes to licensing? What red flags should you be looking for? And how do you make sure that your licensing deal will set you up for success? We'll get into all of that next time. Now we're getting close to the last episode. If you have any questions, send them to hello@borntolicense.com. We will be answering listener questions in the final episode. So if there's anything that you've wanted to know about the licensing industry, now is the time to ask. Thanks for joining me at Born to License. Keep an eye out. Your favorite brands might be making their way into places you never imagined. Thanks for tuning in to Born to License. If today's episode got you thinking about how licensing could transform your business, I'd love to help. At Born to License, we specialize in guiding companies into the licensing space, helping you streamline the process, surprise and delight your customers, and attract new ones. Visit borntolicense.com to learn more, get in touch, and unlock new opportunities for your business. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with somebody who might find it useful. Until next time, I'm David Bourne, reminding you to look closer because licensing is all around us. I'll see you soon.